Today we are talking about the history of geometry. Now, one of the most famous mathematicians you might have heard of is Pythagoras, and he lived around 570 BC. He led a group of people called the Pythagoreans, and they studied Pythagoreanism, which includes music, math, and philosophy. This is a very exclusive group. They all wore white robes and studied the same thing. Some people called it a religion, some people called it a cult, but they did produce a lot of the mathematics we use today. Next is Euclid, who lived around 365 BC, and he is called the father of geometry. He wrote a book named The Elements of Euclid, and he basically spelled out the geometry that we learn today in Western mathematics. Pythagoras and Euclid are definitely the most famous geometers, but I wanted to make this video to talk about the civilizations that had the knowledge of geometry way before these two. So let's start with the Egyptians. The Ahmose papyrus dates back to 1550 BC. This papyrus has problems that have to do with area, volume, and trigonometry. This is the oldest text we have regarding geometry. Next is the Babylonian tablets. There are many tablets. I chose to focus on one because this tablet in particular is the oldest proof of the Pythagorean theorem. This is a visual proof, and you can see there is text below each of the pictures. But this dates back at least 1,000 years before Pythagoras. Next, we have the Zhaobai Zhenjing, and this is the earliest Chinese mathematical document we have. It's a collection of problems, proofs, and pictures from the Zhao dynasty, dating to from 1050 BC to 256 BC. Here is a visual proof of a 3-4-5 triangle. Next, we have the Vedic mathematics, and these are from India. I wanted to focus on the Solva Sutras, which is a collection of 4 texts by different authors. The oldest text is authored by Baudhayana, and this text dates back to 800 BC. They discuss the cases of Pythagorean theorem and Pythagorean triples here. In the other Solva Sutras, we also find approximations of pi and trigonometry. Now, one of the civilizations I didn't talk about was the Maya. And the reason is we don't have any texts from the Maya civilization talking about geometry. That's not because it didn't exist, but because actually in the 1550s, Spanish conquerors went out to destroy all Maya books. There are 3 remaining Maya books about mathematics, but unfortunately, none of those had anything to do with geometry. Now, looking at their temples, such as this one here, Chichen Itza, it is very evident that the Maya were extremely knowledgeable in mathematics and geometry. We just don't have any textual evidence for that. That's it for Euclidean geometry, which is what we'll be studying this year. But there are so many other types of geometry that you might study in the future, such as spherical, hyperbolic, projective, topology, analytic, differential, and algebraic. Thanks for listening, and I wanted to credit the author Roger Cooke, who made a book called The History of Mathematics that goes much more into depth of geometry and other topics of math.